Throughout his journey, Luffy has acquired several scars on his body, although only a few are visible. But this does not mean that he does not have other scars. Only the scars that bring some weight to the character remain visible. In today's video, we will talk about all the scars Luffy has so far, those that are visible and those that remain hidden. And we will talk about how Luffy managed to get these scars on his body throughout history. Luffy has several scars on his body, but the first one he has carried since childhood was the one just below his eye during his childhood. In an attempt to prove to Shanks that he was no longer a child, Luffy takes a blade and pierces just below his eyes, causing the scar that has become something in which many recognize, as this was the first is one of the most striking scars Luffy has obtained during his lifetime. The second scar that Luffy obtained during his journey was through an enemy. During the Barati arc, Luffy faces Don Krieg. During this confrontation, Don Krieg uses one of his combat tools. He fired several armor-piercing projectiles at Luffy, but only 3 of them hit him. The projectiles caught him in his left leg and shoulder and in his belly, and Luffy hit the spines of Don Krieg's cape, piercing his right hand. However, all these injuries caused in the confrontation against Don Krieg did not become a visible scar. These injuries still remain on Luffy's body, however not in a way represented through scars. Luffy obtained another scar during his confrontation with Kuro during the Syrup Village arc. Because he was a fast opponent, Kuro delivered several cuts with his blades, cutting his arms, leg, belly, and even Luffy's chest. During the Arlong Park arc, Luffy hit by Arlong's powerful bites. His Mortitas hit his shoulders, elbow, and even on his belly, causing a large puncture wound, although no visible scar formed. Another very striking scar is the one that happened during the Alabasta arc. Crocodile, with his hook, was able to pierce Luffy's chest, impaling him and letting him slowly lose his life because of the bleeding. During the Skypiea arc, Luffy faced Enel, who also caused an unseen scar on him. Through his staff, Enel hit Luffy's jaw, piercing him, however not in a way that could take his life. Former Admiral Aokiji was also responsible for causing a scar on Luffy's body during the Marineford arc. Through the power of his fruit, Aokiji was able to create a kind of ice stake, piercing Luffy's right shoulder. In this same arc, during the escape from this great battle, Akainu was able to make a visible scar on Luffy's chest, which became a symbol for this character during the end of the Battle of the Best. Jin catches Luffy, who was shaken, and runs away from the confrontation, but Akainu pursues them, pierces Jin's chest with his magma power, and the splash of this lava catches Luffy, forming an X on his chest, marking him for the rest of his life with this big scar. In the Dressrosa arc, Luffy confronts Doflamingo, who causes some injuries that could form scars on his body. Doflamingo body Luffy's entire body through his wires, then causes non-visible scars on his body. Katakuri was also able to cause many scars on Luffy, especially on his left abdomen. Katakuri was able to throw an incredible punch that was able to pierce him, causing a large wound and possibly an unseen scar. During the Wano arc, the powerful Yonko managed to wound Luffy several times during the confrontations they had, especially in the final battle between Luffy and Kaido. Let's talk about the events and how the injuries happened that may have caused a scar on Luffy's body. After Law and the Straw Hat Pirates arrived in Wano, they began their plan to defeat Kaido, but they began to draw too much attention from Kaido's pirates, letting the Emperor know that Luffy was in his territory. Upon receiving this information, Kaido personally went to the Kuri region to confront Luffy, and in doing so, brought about Luffy's first confrontation with Kaido, a battle which lasted only a few minutes as Luffy was knocked out with just one blow from Kanabo, wounding Luffy's body with the sharp points of the Kanabo, then creating punctures in Luffy's body from the impact, then forming the first scar Luffy acquired in Wano. After managing to defeat Luffy, Kaido was very impressed with his fighting talent and ordered his pirates to arrest Luffy to make him useful for some of his plans, wishing to break Luffy's spirit to have him as a soldier within his crew. However, after a few events, Luffy manages to escape, allowing the Straw Hat Pirate to proceed with his plan to defeat Kaido during the Onigashima event. Luffy and his allies managed to invade Onigashima to confront Kaido's pirates. Again, Luffy and Kaido meet at Onigashima, but this time, Luffy was a little stronger. Kaido is even impressed that Luffy had been able to improve his haki to use a technique capable of penetrating his defenses, telling Luffy that he was one of the only pirates who was able to make him feel pain, comparing Luffy to some famous pirates pirates like Edward Newgate, Odin, and even Goody Roger, showing that Kaido was slowly recognizing him as a powerful opponent so he would no longer hold back to defeat him. Kaido was also impressed that Luffy was not being defeated as easily as he was in their first encounter, praising the young pirate for defending himself adequately against some of his stronger attacks. The Emperor then starts to get even more excited during the fight, no longer containing his incredible strength because he saw that Luffy's strength grew even more during the fight, so he could no longer contain his strength against Luffy. Even though Luffy was stronger, he was still not able to defeat Kaido. After receiving many attacks and being badly injured by Kanabo, Luffy was hit with an incredible attack, causing Luffy to fall from Onigashima. But Luffy is saved and taken back to Onigashima to continue his confrontation with Kaido on top of Onigashima. After regaining his strength, Luffy begins to think of ways he can defeat Kaido. After Luffy returned to Onigashima and showed Kaido that he was able to strengthen his Haoshoku Haki even more, causing even more damage to Kaido. Realizing this increase in Luffy's strength made Kaido even more excited about defeating Luffy. For now, Kaido really saw Luffy as an opponent on the same level because not only was Luffy able to defend his blows, but he was also able to inflict great damage on his body. Kaido even says that the battle was getting fun. To celebrate fighting a decent opponent, Kaido starts drinking and enters his Shuron hack form to confront Luffy. Kaido then admits that he recognizes Luffy's strength and that he is an opponent worthy of confronting. Even though Kaido was struggling now, he could no longer hurt Luffy because the battle was balanced between them. So Luffy and Kaido stayed for a while fighting each other without being able to hurt each other. But something unexpected happened in the confrontation between them. In this balanced battle, someone appears to disturb the confrontation between them. CP0's main agent appears in Luffy and Kaido's battle, disturbing the incredible confrontation they were having, so that Luffy would have no chance of being able to defeat Kaido. The CP0 member hinders Luffy so that he cannot defend a heavy blow from Kaido, which allows Kaido to perfectly hit Luffy. Luffy received a heavy attack from Kaido's Kanabo directly on his head, an attack which would take the life of anyone, no matter how resistant he was, since Kaido has a very high level of Haki, leading to his instant defeat because of the incredible attack that Kaido landed on Luffy with his Kanabo. This blow was much stronger than the previous ones, which left Luffy extremely wounded, almost near losing his life. Even Kaido didn't believe that Luffy could survive this blow, as he was able to easily knock out and injure Luffy's body, this being the biggest scar Luffy has acquired so far in Wano. For the other injuries Luffy obtained during the confrontation in Wano were during his awakening of his fruit of the sun god Nika. Through this awakening, Luffy gained an increase in his body defense. Kaido hit Luffy's body several times with his Kanabo, but none of his attacks seemed to have any effect against this new transformation of Luffy. Even Kaido's Borobeth was not able to hurt Luffy's body, only leaving him burned for a short time. So we can assume that the blows that Luffy received from Kaido's Kanabo after achieving the awakening of his fruit caused no or only a little damage to his body because of the great elasticity. Even though Kaido used serious blows, they were not able to pierce or cause major injuries that could take Kaido's life, causing Luffy to obtain only scars from the first few confrontations against Kaido.